Hello, hello, hello. Making an alien in green today. Nice green is this. That is a nice green. So I don't have green clothes on because I can't find them. I don't know where they are. So, but that's okay. That's alright. It doesn't always have to match. So it matches my artwork. That is good. This is a wonderful green. I absolutely love this green. This is nice and artificial. An artificial toy green is this. Fantastic. Yummy. Got a little bit snot on it now, but that's okay. So I'm making a nice alien today. I was watching an interview with Wim Hof, the Iceman, and Louis House. I am totally in love with Louis House. Totally dream man material. Absolutely ultra. The ultimate. That is to me Mr. Barbie. Really, always has been for many, many years. Mr. Barbie. So, yeah, but he's not gonna go for good old granny. He has his Barbie dolls lined up already to meet and greet. So, but I really love this guy inside and out. He's amazing. He's beautiful inside and out. A beautiful mind, deeply compassionate. And that's quite something for someone who looks that stunning. To be humble and to be compassionate like he is. So, because a lot of men, when they are gorgeous looking, they are not humble. When they think they can have every woman they want, every trophy wife they want to brag with her, they are not humble. Okay. Most of them. And that is a fact. So, alien, yes. Yes, I look a little bit like the Indian girl on the cross. Yes. When I was 5 years old, I painted, because I was always watching Clint Eastwood Western films and stuff, and I always identified with the little Indian girls. I always felt sorry for them, and oftentimes they were portrayed as victims or as living a rough life out in the desert and all of that. I guess that's where my love for the desert comes from. And way over there, overseas in Germany, we watched these Clint Eastwood films. So we were all fans. And so I identified myself with the victimized little Indian girls who had and the Indian girls, they had physically a rough life, but not all of them. Some of them they lived actually very grounded, because they lived in teepees. They didn't have rubber shoes on. They were connected to Mother Earth, so that was very, very good. We out there in the Western world, we wear rubber shoes, and I only got grounded when I fell off my bicycle and skinned my knees. So now I got grounded a lot. We were swimming in the fish pond, in the frog pond, at my grandfather's house a lot. So now we hung out on the grass, so I did get grounded a lot. But one should live much more grounded. So the house, the inside house should be grounded to Mother Earth. But psychologically, I saw myself as a little Indian girl on a cross, and I painted that. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his last years of that Nietzsche existence, he signed letters to his friends with the crucified, der Gekreuzigte. Sometimes he referred to himself as the Nazarene. I had to laugh when I saw that. He, as a figure of speech, he felt a kinship to that Nazarene who was crucified. He saw himself as crucified by society. That's what it was. And that's why the Zarathustra in the fairy tale said at the marketplace, God is dead. You have killed him. You have murdered him. And what he's really saying was and then the people in the marketplace, they say, get rid of that clown, and they were laughing, and let's see the actual acrobat now that was going to be doing a rope dance. So we've heard enough from the acrobat. Let's see him now. So what he was really trying to say is, you have murdered, really the whole understanding. Not God cannot be murdered, but you have murdered the understanding, the real understanding, the real contemplation on the infinite cosmos, that what people call God. It's a very vulgar term, as Jiddu Krishnamurti also rightly pointed out. It feels very vulgar to say that word God, because it has been marketed into oblivion, really, in society throughout millennia. So what he was really trying to say, that the Zarathustra, and in Friedrich Nietzsche identified himself with Zarathustra, of course. So that is his own story, basically. He just wrapped it into a fairy tale. So Zarathustra meant you have murdered that real understanding of that what is the infinite cosmos, the sacred, the almighty, as some people call it. That too was very, very marketed. The mighty infinite cosmos. Mighty is not enough of an expression for that. It is infinite, that exceeds mighty and grand and amazing. Infinite is infinite. There's no end and no beginning. Cannot be murdered. Okay. But the Zarathustra was angry, and he said, you, with your religion, with your petty, marketplace religion, you have murdered that real understanding of what the infinite cosmos actually, what it actually is, what it actually gives us, what it stands for itself. Yeah. So he signed the letters with der Gekreuzigte. He really meant his sister and his mother also in particular, who have crucified him psychologically. Yeah. He hasn't really processed this all the way. He died with this sadness of having been psychologically crucified by Sister Elizabeth and his mother, who were taking care of him because he was suffering from syphilis. He had some form of spongiform encephalitis that had arisen out of the syphilis infection. That was before they had vaccinations for that. That was in the late 1800s. He died in 1900. He died in 1900 when my grandmother was born. And when Jiddu Krishnamurti was 5 years old. My grandfather was born in 1908, 8 years later. I keep these numbers in my head for some reason. So when I came into existence, we watched the Clint Eastwood films, and I identified myself as a little Indian girl. And I always projected, I always assumed things into them that weren't really there. They probably often had very good mothers and a natural lifestyle, more simple lifestyle, in nature, with mothers that didn't go out to work or be lawyer or constant parties, like 3 parties per week where the parents go off to. And no, they didn't have that. They always stayed with their children and their animals, which is the natural way to live. And they loved their children, and they breastfed them, and they nursed them and nurtured them. So, but I, of course, when I saw little girls, I thought they all had it psychologically rough. They were all crucified psychologically like I was. So I painted myself crucified, decorated as the Indian girl on the cross. And also when we had the carnival, the Mardi Gras, they call it in the South here in the United States, that is the same as the carnival in Germany and I guess Northern Europe. So, and that they brought that with them, of course, to the Americas, and they continued that tradition. So the Carnival Festival is somewhere in February, when we kids would invite each other for carnival parties, kid parties, and we would dress up as our favorite characters in fairy tales and so on. And For me, it was never the princess. It was always the Indian girl on the cross. So I had all kinds of Indian girl dress paraphernalia with all the stuff with all these tools that they had, the tomahawk, and it was made out of a rubber material, and it had a very distinct rubber smell. Smelled a little bit like my Caspar puppets and gasoline, like raw oil. That's why I like raw oil so much. It reminds me of all of these nice toys. So yeah, and I would dress up as the Indian girl with yellow stockings that were like wool stockings, like wool, like a stocking, like a pantalon, like leggings, that there were actual pants, but really, really, really thick woven. And then that was the time of the mini skirt. My mother put me into mini skirts, which was extremely traumatic for me as a child, but my mother did know better. Okay, so it's real traumatic for little girls to be looked at by men, by adult men. Very traumatic. Okay, so when we're big old grannies, we like it. Not when we're 6 years old. Okay, it's very, very traumatic. And just I highly recommend to men out there, please do not sexualize children. Okay, don't do it. Don't sexualize any living being other than someone who is a human who is over 18. Okay, then you're allowed to do it. So don't traumatize an animal or child. Don't do it. So I felt psychologically crucified, and this painting, this drawing of the Indian girl on the cross was wisely chosen by Annalise, my play therapist, my Freudian analytical psychotherapist that I already had at age 5. Some people start early with that kind of stuff. And she took that and she used that as the cover image for her book, Betty, Protocol of a Child Therapy, which is the therapy process with me when I was 5, from 5 to age 8. So a little over 2 years I was in that therapy. I came to her place cellar in that beautiful house. I came to her house twice a week. My nanny brought me there, and we would be playing Caspar theater together, and she would invent fairy tales just for me, and it was wonderful. It was very, very wonderful that I had her in my life. Okay, I'm deeply grateful for that. Annalise, I love you. You beautiful being. She's come back. I don't know if she's still there, but she came back in a different form. So I don't know if any of you have seen the videos of Botox. Botox, the yellow Labrador. That is Annalise. She came back as Botox. That's part of her journey. Part of her growing journey. That is something she still needed to see from first-hand perspective. So, because she, in her Annalise years, she was this tall, blonde, that all men admired, the trophy wife. And she didn't really understand what it feels like to be looked down on, and to be not taken seriously, and to be clowned and put in the clown position, or put into the being infantilized. She didn't really understand that. And not fitting in terms of appearance. So that's why she had to come back as Botox. A yellow Labrador. I think he is absolutely beautiful. Okay. But he had, because they didn't have enough space in the mother's womb. There were too many, because they breed dogs that give birth to too many puppies. So the other dogs, he was in some, I don't know, and then the birth, I don't know, somehow his face became deformed, intrauterine, and his eyes were kind of squished together, more like a cartoon figure. And then so the woman who rescued him called him Botox because of that. It's real cute. And he got together with that wonderful woman who rescued him, and she already had a yellow Labrador with a normal face, and that was the reincarnation of Annelise's beloved husband Eduard Peste, who co-wrote a book with another scientist together for the Club of Rome on global warming. That was way in the 80s, before people ever put their minds onto it. Great soul, angel soul. Eduard. I love Eduard. I love Annelise. And they were able to be together again, living with this wonderful woman who rescued them. And that's wonderful. It's heartwarming. It makes me feel good. As an animal rights activist particularly, it makes me feel good to see happy endings. So, most beings do not seem to have that kind of happy ending in the world, and that's why I'm very, very worried. I was thinking about my brother lately a lot. I felt rejected by him as a living being, as a sister, and I felt like, that hurts very much. And instead of venturing into any kind of egoic act out or egoic thought construction, which happens very easily, we very easily go into something, whether that is some kind of intellectualizing or some kind of reasoning away the pain, which is an escape mechanism. I want to stay with that feeling. And I don't want to reason it away by saying, oh yeah, but it's his own story, and not for now. Okay, not for now. His own troubles and all of this. No, then I reason that way in that moment, and I don't give myself that opportunity to dive into it for myself. So for right now, yes, it is also true, but for right now I just want to stick with what it feels to me in that moment. What does it feel to me in this moment? I feel abandoned. No, I sit with it. I sit with that feeling. I feel abandoned by him. I feel like he disrespects me. I can reason this away. I don't want to. I'll sit with that feeling. That's an old feeling, very old. It applies to a lot of things in my childhood. Okay. Sit with that. Not run off. Not prove anything to anyone or to myself, just sit with that thing. They have disapproved of me. They have scapegoated me. They have disrespected me. They have abandoned me psychologically. Teal Swan made a very good video recently about psychological orphaning, like the process mechanism of becoming psychologically orphaned. And it's, it may look good on the outside to other people. We're all good, we're having fun, right? But on the inside, the family dynamics, the social dynamics on the inside of the family, it looks very different. So I am different, I can't help it. That's how I am. I am different to other people. When I was a child, it was still regarded as cute and funny, They didn't, even when it was out of sadness and all of this, they still thought that was funny. One time I said the nanny needs to be beaten and burned when I was 4 years old because she was abusive to me, and they all laughed. They didn't see the actual criticism behind it. When I got older, it wasn't so funny anymore to them. It wasn't so cutesy-pootsy anymore. Then my criticism started to take on a more serious character. But they still didn't want to show to me that I had something to say that was of value, of course. So they were offended, and they had to play it down, whatever I said in regards to social criticism, because they all obviously have identified themselves with society. So they all take offense to a society criticism as well. Take that personally, actually, because they have identified themselves with society. My mother would say, "You look down on everyone, don't you?" Because she takes offense to that, because she identifies herself with the others, the mainstream norm and all of this. So, and I said to her, no, I don't look down on others. Just because I wear clothes that are not on board with other people, or my haircut, doesn't mean I look down on others. That's how easily this is being misconstructed by their egos. The ego feels disrespected very quickly just by a funny movement of the nose. Oh, rejected. No, not rejected. No. That's why Don Miguel Ruiz said in his book, "Do not take anything personally." He has specific rules for existence. Do not take anything personally. And do your best for your life, for your existence, that you feel good. Not just in terms of ego about yourself, but you feel good, that you make your life livable. Okay? Be impeccable in that way. Learn and become more and more impeccable in that way. Not in an obsessive way, OCD way, but impeccable in terms of meditation, in terms of pondering over things, like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford talking about the eye of the sewing machine needle for 10 hours straight. And one would talk, Paul told me about that, and then the other one would listen, and then none of them will talk for 10 minutes or more. That also happened between Jiddu Krishnamurti and David Bohm, because they would be actually thinking about, in that depth, about what the other just said. And then 10 minutes later, the other one would say something, and then they will contemplate on that again for another 10 minutes, and it would go on for hours and hours and hours. And this is how we should be living our lives as well. Not the quick conclusions and assumptions and this reaction and all of this, but sitting down and becoming more slow down. Think things through in mindfulness, really, really carefully. And the most important part about this is sitting with that emotion and even recognizing there is an emotion in the first place. There is an emotion in that. That's why this wants to think this or that about the other person, or come to this or that conclusion, so that I can wash my egoic hands clean and escape from that rawness of that feeling. Yeah. No, that's not a good thing. Stick with that rawness of that feeling. Hang out with it. Listen to it. Breathe into it, deeply into that moment of rawness that arises with that feeling, with that emotion, with that memory, with all of the hurt and all of the stuff that is connected to it. Maybe other things that have compounded onto it. Layer on layer on layer upon layer. Okay. Compounded onto the same thing, buried the very thing that started the whole chain reaction. The stuff from childhood. Every time an interaction between humans goes sour or south, it's because of a total, tragical misunderstanding. The race wars, the religious wars, all of this is based on misunderstanding. They don't understand themselves and their actual childhood pain. They just keep on assuming things about someone else out of their own pain. They keep assuming they don't like me because of my green skin color. They don't like us Martians just because we're green. But if I sit down in meditation, then I can see there's nothing wrong with being green. Nothing wrong at all. Matter of fact, many humans like green. Some of them say, once you go green, you never go back. You know what I'm talking about, right? like those big, huge sea cucumbers. Yes, I'm related to those. Yes, yes, yes. So it's not the skin color green. That's not what the problem is. That is not the problem. But if this Martian decided he is going to incinerate people's homes and rape women and kill people that are not green, just because they are not green, then there's a problem arising. Because the other ones, like the yellow alien upstairs, will say, look, no, dude, we want to live too. That's not my fault that I'm yellow. It's the one that upstairs that will say that. And the green guy says, okay, sorry, I'm misunderstanding. My ego ran off 10,000 miles per hour. I gotta sit down on the couch and I gotta think this through. Yes, you're right. You have the right to exist. You have the right to be happy. Okay. Nicola has the right to exist and be happy. Okay. She doesn't deserve to be bullied all the time. Just because because her nose is not shaped according to Gucci and Chanel and Calvin Klein. So no, nobody deserves that. We can sit down in meditation and we can when we breathe, we can look through all of those layers of prejudice, okay? And we can relax and make sure to breathe. It's very, very important. Breathe. So what else did I want to talk about? We need therapy centers. This is very, very important. Vitally important. We need non-profit based therapy centers worldwide with group therapy. That is the main focus point of these therapy centers. These incredibly powerful group sessions. And the reason why I say this is because I have experienced that firsthand in primal therapy. I do not recommend primal therapy anymore because people have died in that therapy, but not so much because of that therapy. Those people were already at high risk, but because the therapists, they were in their own stuff. They didn't recognize the high risk people as being in danger, as needing extra attention, and, in that way. So I'm not going to go to that level of saying that they have corpses in the cellar or something, but the therapy has definitely had problems, had issues. So, but these are all becoming processes, and it's absolutely horrific that there were people that did not make it through this. There were people that needed to be in the hospital, in a sanatorium. They needed to be taken care of in a completely different way. Very, very infinitely sad. I talked about this also, about these people in my previous videos. I'm not going to get into it now. That would take way too long to talk about this. Talked about this already many, many times, about Mary and Len, the people that I had known. I'm infinitely sorry that I wasn't able to help. I was a mess at that time myself. So, and every therapist was basically still in a fog and in their own chaos and of trying to sort things out for themselves. Just because someone has a license still doesn't mean that they are completely ready now to be a therapist and take that on. No, not at all. That license, that's just some bureaucratic paper that really means nothing. The people who can take on someone like this are people like Wim Hof. Someone who is like a rock in the surf can take on someone who is suicidal and suffering, and I don't know if I can do it at this point right now. But we do need to get these therapy centers. We need to get that started. And, if we had anarchy, for example, if every law was voided, if we didn't have any more laws at all, this can happen. That would be a very dangerous, very, very, very scary situation. But at least then we wouldn't have to be worried about being sued or going to prison for for practicing medicine or psychotherapy without a license. So at least that thing would be over with. And then I can say, just as much as I will help someone who sits on the side of the street crying, I can walk by and say, I don't have a license to practice therapy. I better let her sit there and cry her eyes out and feel totally abandoned. No, I have a heart. I'm a mother bear. I'm a mother dog mom. I go over and I say, girl, what's going on? Okay, I'll sit there with her. I hold her hand. I put my arm around her shoulder. Even if she has a bad odor, if she's homeless. I've done that. She got up and hugged me. I mean, with OCD, it's terrible, to be hugged by someone who is completely down and out and dirty and everything. It smells bad and all of that. But I can't just say, oh no, I can't touch you. Now with the virus, that's a different situation. But many years ago, I felt very sorry for her. I felt much compassion. She gave me a hug and cried. Just cried and cried and cried. And I said, it's okay to cry. It is okay. It's okay to cry. Cry it out, all of it. Let it all out. The abandonment, the feelings of being let down by someone, or losing your money or your business or whatever. Let it out. You have nothing to lose. Whether you're a woman or a man or a child, cry it out. That's your chance to do it, to connect with the infinite cosmos. And the infinite cosmos will take care of you. 100%. If you lean all the way into that feeling, into that moment, into this now existence, just the way it is, with my arm falling asleep. It's the alien in my other hand. The trees whipping in the wind, my artwork, Paul on the other end of the room. I don't know what he's doing and thinking. Something completely unrelated to what I'm doing. Thinking about the carburetor. I don't know what that is. Or the catalyzer converter. Or Kragan auto parts. That's usually what's on his mind. While my mind is on inwardness processes. And that's all okay. And I've gotten mad at him for not being attuned. But, I see it. It is what it is. He is who he is. His brain is what it is. And there's also escape mechanism happening in his brain. The brain does not feel safe going into that, what I'm going into. That's okay. He is where he is. I can't force anyone. You can never force anyone. You can never shame anyone to go into anything or to say, oh, you are there and I'm here, or you are not. No, people are where they are. There's no shame attached to it. Okay? They try the best they can with where they are at in their development. All we can do is, if we know better, we can hold the hand out. Here's my hand. Here are my arms. I can put my arm around your shoulder. You can cry on my shoulder. I can offer this information, and maybe some people will get something, will recognize this. And use that information, apply that information for themselves. And there will be other people who will feel threatened by it, maybe, or who don't use it or don't see it as useful or whatever. So many different brains, different stages, and or whatever people can do to make the world better. Try to make the world better with wherever you're at. Whatever you can do in a peaceful way, whatever you can offer. You can fix other people's cars, that's what you want to do with your life, or you can go into meditation, or you can go into philosophy. Just live a peaceful life and give love. And never hurt another living being, and never use pesticides, and never use poisons on yourself or others or the environment. Live a peaceful, clean and green life. Then we make the world a better place. Okay? You guys take care. Bye bye.